Happy Friday, guys. I hope everyone's doing well. I am hoping that today's live will be like very succinct, to the point, and that you'll be able to take something away from it. Welcome. My name is Stephanie Kerr. I am a content creator. I'm an author. I'm excited to put out my second book, but in the meantime, you guys can always grab my first book, which is Trust: Moving Forward When You Don't Have All the Answers. It's a collection of 6 short stories inspired by the lives of women who I know personally and who just exemplified a part of the journey that I personally went through. And so that book is available in the link in my bio. But yes, during this live, what I wanted to talk about, I actually just decided a couple minutes ago. I wasn't too sure what I was going to talk about this week, and I was having a conversation with a friend, and I said to him, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about for my live video later on today. And he didn't quite tell me to talk about perfection, but he mentioned something about perfection. And the gist of the conversation was that when people look at me, they might think that my life is perfect. And so I was just like, okay, he is not the first person to say that. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit today about perfection, and then we'll go into probably just one other thing. So perfection, comparison, and then into something that I was learning this week. But welcome if you are watching live, or if you're going to be watching a little bit later on. And so perfection. So when he mentioned that earlier today to me, that people might look at me and think like I'm perfect or my life is perfect, I thought to myself, what is it that people are looking at thinking that my life is perfect? Because I'm just like everyone else. I literally have ups and downs. I have moments where I'm disappointed. I have moments where I'm feeling discouraged. I have moments where it just feels like nothing's going my way. I'm just like everyone else. But what I do understand to be true is that sometimes when we're looking at other people's lives, when we are looking at other people's lives, we can often compare where we are compared to that person. But if we're looking at, let's say, social media, what do people post on social media? They post when they're going on vacation. They post when they're out to dinner. They post when their makeup just got done. They post when they graduate. They post when they're announcing that they're having a baby. They post when they got the keys to their new car, the keys to the new house. These are the moments that people are sharing with us on social media. Now, sometimes people get on social media and they show us like a raw and real moment of them crying, or they show us, very rarely do we see like an eviction notice or anything like that, or their car got repossessed. People don't really come to social media and share that stuff. And so if we're just literally basing what we think of somebody's life off of what they choose to share online, then Trav, you requested to be in my video. Let me know in the comments if that was intentional. But yeah, if we're just basing how we view ourselves based off of what other people choose to show online, then we're gonna be disappointed every time. We're gonna feel, okay, ignore the request. Okay, got you. I just want to check. But yeah, as it pertains to perfection, like there really is no perfect life. And I don't know exactly what J. Cole said, but I know that he said something along the lines of, there's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. And that's actually something I had to check myself on yesterday, because I was just doing some work. I'm taking 2 courses right now, and I was just sitting outside of the house just getting some work done on the courses, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, wow, like just thinking about my life. And I got to a place where I was just like, I'm not saying nothing has been accomplished, but sometimes, especially when you're looking at other people, you can feel like you're behind, or you can feel like you just, you haven't made it, or you can feel like whatever the case is. And so I had one of those moments yesterday, and I made my way home, and I get to my neighborhood, and I see one of my neighbors who I haven't seen in a long time. So welcome. So I stopped to say hi to her and just see how she's doing. And as I was approaching her house, I was on Instagram, and I saw this post. I don't remember who posted it. If I can find it, I'll put it in the caption. But the post essentially said that this particular person, who is a coach in and of her, like that's what she does, she had gone to another coach's event or retreat, and at that event they saw, like, people who had signed up for the event, they saw that coach like break down and cry, and like there was something going on. And as the people who had signed up for the retreat, they were like comforting her. And one thing that she took away from that moment was that sometimes you can see on the outside someone who has 8, 9, 10, whatever, however many figures. So financially, they're okay. And they were at this person's mansion, which was, I don't know exactly where. I think she said it was in California somewhere. So on the outside, financially, this person is thriving, this person is prospering. But here they are, they caught her. I'm not going to say they caught her, but they happened to see a moment where she was just faced with life. Had nothing to do with the fact that she needed money, because she has money, but it was something else that was an issue. There was something else that was a challenge for her. And in the caption for that particular post, she was saying, you know, when did business stop being fun? When did business start being so, I guess, mechanical? And somebody commented and said, when we started to share our numbers with people, when we started to tell people, this is how much I made today, this is how much I made last month, this is how much I made in the past 2 years, that's when it stopped being fun. It just started to be all about the metrics. And at the very end of that post, she said, you know, we have to start redefining our definition of success. And I was reading it, I was just like, you know what, that's really true. And I think that that would help me personally get to a place where I'm more content with what God has allowed me to accomplish thus far, and to have more hope for what is coming in the future, as opposed to looking at, again, social media and what people choose to show me online and basing my own value or whatever else on that, right? So as I'm thinking to myself, this is really, really true. I see my neighbor and I go and I greet her. And she is, I want to say she may be in her 60s. She might be in her 60s. And so I go over to her and I greet her. And the reason I mention her age is because she's in her 60s. She's married. She has stepkids who have their own kids. And she starts telling me about her 2 stepdaughters who were both really serious about like their careers and, you know, their professions. And so she says to me, how's your social life? I was just like, my social life? And I was like, well, you know, and so I start telling her. And she goes on to say, you know, my stepdaughters, they both found their husbands online on some like dating website about a month after being on this dating website. So essentially she was telling me like, you should get on this dating website, stop taking yourself so seriously, and like, you know, like settle down, like find somebody. And so that's all happening in the same moment. So I'm working outside the house thinking about my life, and I'm like, oh gosh, like what is really going on? And then I see this post reminding me, Stephanie, make sure that your definition of success, your definition of like what perfect is based on something that's true to who you are. It's based on something that is, number one, coming from God, the one who actually created you and knows the timeline that he has for your life. And then number 3, like, don't put so much pressure on yourself to be at the same place in life as somebody else, because that's not the journey that you're on. And then I see that post, and then I'm having that conversation with my neighbor. And so it's just really interesting how everything just unfolded. But it was just coming back to perfection. Me, the learning moments or just the lesson for myself is really, what is that metric that you are gauging success on? Because if it's coming from something that's external, if it's coming from something that's like other people, that's their definition of success. Number 1, that's what they're going to show you online, that they have achieved success in that capacity. But is that even what you want? Is that even what you find success to be? And is that what would define success for you? You have to know what that looks like for you, and that will help perfectionism and just like comparing yourself to other people to be less of a thing in your life. But I just want to, like, for anyone who is, I'm not going to say confused, but for anyone who's ever looked at me and thought like, yeah, this girl's life must be perfect and, you know, like there's no problems, there's no nothing. No, there's nobody whose life is like that. Absolutely no one. And just like I said, when it came to that post I saw yesterday, they were at the woman's beautiful home and they had paid, I don't know how much to be there, but they had paid to be there in her presence. And what they witnessed was the fact that one area of her life truly was thriving, but it doesn't mean that every area was thriving. And so I just pray that God would help us to get to a place where we are acknowledging that our lives are blessed, even if we don't have everything that we're looking for in this particular moment, that he truly will be, Psalm 84 verse 11, a sun and a shield. He will give grace and glory, and he won't withhold anything good from us, right? So that is the first thing I want us to talk about, perfection. Like, I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, nobody who we see in like offline or online is perfect, and that's okay. We're literally on our own journeys, progressing and hopefully desirous of looking more and more like the Son of God, Jesus Christ. So that's honestly what it all comes down to. So perfection is just something that is not helpful. It's really not. Like trying to be perfect, trying to look perfect, trying to make everything seem like it's just flawless all the time, that's not real life. It's not real life. And sometimes where that comes from is having compared ourselves. And even when we compare ourselves, the people and the standard we're comparing ourselves to is another flawed human being who has their own challenges and issues. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about today. And the second and last thing that I wanted to talk about today is, and I mentioned it in passing in the first, I guess, lesson, and I'm taking a course right now, and it's called Writing Fiction Like a Pro, just because I want to get better for book number 2. It's already written, but as I go back and self-edit and as I just get the book ready to be put out, I want to make sure that I have additional skills to come back to this book. And this course that I'm taking is so interesting because as I'm taking the course, it's literally teaching me more about life. So I want to share something that I learned this week from the course. So one thing I did not know before taking this course was that story and plot are different. I had no idea. But a story is essentially, as you're reading something, that's the emotional part of the text or the movie or the magazine or whatever it is you're following, the cartoon. Story is emotional. The plot is physical. So for example, what that means is I might be thinking something in my head, which is story, or in my heart, I'm feeling something, story. And because of what I'm feeling in my heart, because of what I'm thinking in my head, story, I do something, which then becomes the plot. So for example, I might be mad. I don't actually do this, but I might be upset. And because I'm upset, I slam a cupboard door. Me slamming the cupboard door is the plot. But here's where it actually relates to someone who may not be a writer and who might be watching this video. So I wrote down here, the physical actions of the plot, so like slamming that cupboard door, embody the inner emotional life of the story. Now I'm always thinking super deep about everything, but the next line is so just telling to me. It says, what cannot be seen or heard, story, must be revealed through what can be seen and heard, plot. So that's the lesson. What cannot be seen or heard, the story, must be revealed through what can be seen and heard, the plot. And it was just a reminder to me that when it comes to this world that I'm living in, there's so much that I can't see. Essentially, the stories that are going on in people's hearts, their minds. There's just intangible things that I just don't have access to know. But what I can see are the actions. What I can see are essentially the plot unfolding in front of me. And so this is just, I know that sometimes people will say things like, I shouldn't have to say that I love them because they see that I do this. So I shouldn't have to tell them the story that's going on with me because they should be able to see the plot, my actions. But that's actually a cop-out because the two go hand in hand. You can't have I believe it's you can't have the plot without the story. Like there has to be something that's undergirding it. There has to be something that is the foundation for the plot that's taking place. And so that was just a reminder to me to just be mindful of the fact that both of them go hand in hand. So if there's something that is an action, I shouldn't feel like I shouldn't have to explain it because the person should know the story that's taking place, or vice versa. That the story that's taking place, I shouldn't have to tell anybody what that is because they should see the actions / the plot. So again, that is something that I took away from the lesson from my writing course this week. And I was just like, wow, this is teaching me a lot about life, and just I'm becoming more aware of how even the stories that we tell ourselves, or the stories that we are living out, they're following like almost like a blueprint. Bienvenue, class. It's good to see you. But they're following a blueprint, and in order to find success, just know that the two have to go hand in hand. What can't be seen should be demonstrated by what you physically do, and also what you physically do should be supported by what you actually feel. So those are the two lessons that I have for us this week. The first one was about perfection, and just being mindful of the fact that no matter what you see, no matter what somebody posts online, no matter how perfect somebody's life looks, nobody's life is perfect. Everybody has different things that they're going through, and each of us, we owe it to ourselves to actually be okay with the fact that somebody else's, what we see, their plot that's taking place is gonna look different than ours. Like, that's okay. And like, not comparing ourselves. We do ourselves such a disservice when we compare ourselves. Like, oh, they're I'm just saying my neighbor is there, but whatever it is we're comparing, like, oh, she has such an amazing body, or oh, they have such a cute relationship. We just never know what's actually taking place. It could be everything that they're showing us. Maybe what we see is exactly what it is, but sometimes it's not. And so just being okay with the fact that our lives look the way that they do, and just being content, and not just content with what our lives look like, but being committed to living the best version of our lives that we could possibly live, right? So when my friend mentioned that to me earlier today, like, oh, people probably look at you and think you're perfect, I was just like, what? Nah. There's so much going on that I choose not to share, right? So I share what I want to share, and I share as much as I'm comfortable sharing, but it doesn't mean that there's nothing going on. So just free yourself from the burden of comparing yourself to a quote-unquote perfect image that doesn't even exist. And then number two, I should say, about the plot and the story, and just having learned that in my writing course. In fact, let me read it. What cannot be seen or heard, essentially the story that's taking place, should be revealed through what can be seen and heard. So, like, not falling into that cop-out of thinking, well, this person knows I love them, so I don't have to say it, or this person should know I love them because I say it all the time, so I don't have to actually do anything. No. They're literally two sides of the same coin, and they really should go hand in hand. What we're saying and what people are able to see should match our internal truth and our internal reality. So that's everything I have for today. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds if there are any either points, takeaways, comments, questions, anything like that. You guys can feel free to share that. But if not, I'm gonna check out, and I hope you guys have an amazing long weekend. I don't know what you guys have planned. I have a couple barbecues. I don't know how that's gonna turn out this weekend, but those are my plans, and I hope that since I'm not seeing anything here, I'm gonna end this live for today. But have an amazing weekend, guys, and thank you for joining me.